The restraints cut into my wrists the moment I opened my eyes. Cold metal table, bright white light, a low humming sound coming from somewhere behind my head, like a machine breathing instead of me. I did not know how long I had been out. My last memory was the shuttle breaking apart, alarms screaming, and then nothing. 3 tall shapes stood over me, gray skin, narrow faces, eyes like black glass. One of them leaned closer, and I saw a name badge clipped to its coat, written in strange curling letters that somehow translated in my head the moment I focused on them. Professor Kellen Vray. My name is Daniel Hart. I was a cargo pilot. That was the last normal thing about my life, because after that crash, nothing about my life stayed normal again. Professor Vray tilted his head at me like a bird studying an insect. Beside him stood a smaller alien, younger, with wide, nervous eyes, holding a metal tray. On that tray sat a plant. Purple leaves, dark red berries, glistening like they were wet with blood. Vray spoke, and his voice came out flat and cold through a translator box strapped to his throat. This plant is deadly. I did not answer right away. My mind was still catching up. Deadly to who? Deadly how? Was this a threat? Was this an execution? The younger alien beside him, the one holding the tray, flinched at the word deadly, like it physically hurt to hear it near me. I swallowed hard and forced my voice to stay steady, even though my heart was slamming against my ribs. For soup? I asked. Silence. The professor's black eyes narrowed. The young assistant's hand shook slightly, rattling the tray. I did not know why I said it. Maybe it was fear turning into something reckless. Maybe some part of me needed to hear my own voice to prove I was still alive, still human, still capable of talking back even while strapped to a table on an alien ship. Vray leaned in closer, studying my face for any sign of madness. Explain, he said. I forced a breath through my nose. Where I come from, plenty of plants that could kill other species end up on our dinner plates. We just cook them right, boil out the poison, or breed the poison out over hundreds of years. I do not know what your plant does to you people, but if it works anything like the poisonous plants back home, there is a real chance it does nothing to me at all. The assistant made a small sound, almost like a laugh that got caught in the throat before it escaped. Vray silenced him with a single sharp glance. You claim your body can resist this, Vray said. He picked up one of the dark red berries between 2 long fingers and held it in front of my face. This berry stops a grown threll heart in less than 2 minutes. I have seen it happen. I do not exaggerate for entertainment. I am not asking you to feed it to me for fun, I said. I am telling you that biology is different for different species. If you want proof, there are safer ways to test that than assuming I will die the same way your people die. Vray stared at me a long moment. Then, without warning, he set the berry down and stepped back. Bring the analyzer, he said to the assistant. The young alien scrambled to obey, wheeling in a strange device covered in blinking lights. Vray pressed a cold sensor against my arm. I flinched from the chill, but I forced myself to stay calm, to breathe evenly, to give them no reason to think I was some kind of threat that needed to be silenced quickly. The machine beeped, then beeped again, then a soft chime, almost gentle, like it was surprised by its own answer. Vray studied the screen. His expression, if a face like his could be called an expression, shifted from suspicion into something closer to disbelief. Your blood does not react to the compound the way ours does, he said quietly, almost to himself. Your receptors are different. This should not be possible for a species this advanced. I let out a breath I did not know I was holding. I told you, I said. Different biology, different chemistry. What kills you might just taste bitter to me. The assistant, still holding the tray with shaking hands, finally spoke for the first time, his voice small and full of wonder. Does this mean he could eat it? He asked Vray. Right now, in front of us. Vray did not answer immediately. He looked at me, then at the berry, then back at me, calculating something behind those black glass eyes. There was a sudden jolt through the floor. Red light flooded the room. An alarm, sharp and pulsing, rang through the walls. The ship shuddered violently, throwing the young assistant off balance. The tray of berries clattered to the floor, scattering across the metal plating. Vray's head snapped toward the door. Hull breach, Section 4, he said, reading something from a panel on the wall that I could not see. We are losing atmosphere in the storage bay. The younger alien froze, panic written across every line of his narrow face. What do we do? He asked, voice cracking. Vray moved fast, already heading for the door, barking orders through the translator box that switched languages so fast the sound blurred. Seal every compartment, get engineering online, move. He was gone in seconds, leaving me strapped to the table, alone with the young assistant, and a floor scattered with deadly berries. The alarm kept wailing. The lights flickered, dimmed, then steadied into a dull emergency glow. Through the thin wall I could hear distant shouting, metal groaning, something heavy crashing down a corridor. The young alien knelt and started gathering the fallen berries with trembling hands, refusing to look at me. "Let me help you," I said. He looked up sharply. "You are restrained," he said. "You cannot help anyone." "Then unstrap me," I said. "If your ship is breaking apart, you are going to need every hand you have, even a human one." He hesitated, glancing toward the door, torn between fear and logic. The ship shuddered again, harder this time. Somewhere above us, a pipe burst, and a thin hiss of gas began leaking into the room, pale green and slow-moving, crawling along the ceiling like fog. The young alien's eyes went wide with terror. "That is stored coolant gas," he said, voice rising in panic. "It is toxic to my people. If it reaches breathing levels, I will not survive long in here." I strained against the restraints. "Then you really need to let me move," I said. "I cannot fix a leak strapped to a table, and you cannot fix it while panicking over gas that will not touch me the same way it touches you." He stared at me for one long second, the gas creeping lower, curling around the edges of the room. Then he made his choice. His fingers moved fast over the restraint controls, and the metal bands around my wrists snapped open. I sat up, blood rushing back into my hands, and looked around the room. A control panel blinked red near the far wall, numbers falling fast, some kind of countdown I did not understand but did not like the look of. "Where is the leak?" I asked. "Storage compartment behind that wall," he said, pointing. "The gas is filling this room because the vent system is drawing it in to protect the crew quarters. If it keeps building, it will spread through the entire lower deck." I moved toward the panel, scanning it, trying to make sense of symbols I had never seen before. The young alien hovered beside me, coughing now, the green gas thickening near the floor. "You need to breathe less of this," I said. "Get higher, away from the floor level. It is heavier than air." He climbed onto a storage crate, still coughing, watching me with wide eyes as I worked the panel by instinct and guesswork, pressing sequences that seemed to match patterns I had seen on human ships a lifetime ago. A valve symbol blinked on the screen. I pressed it. Nothing happened. I pressed it again, harder, and a mechanical groan echoed through the wall as something inside shifted and locked into place. The green mist stopped spreading. Slowly, the vents overhead began pulling the gas away, clearing the air in ragged pale streams. The young alien slid down from the crate, breathing hard, his narrow chest rising and falling fast. "You saved us," he said, disbelief thick in his voice. "I saved myself first," I said. "You happen to be standing close enough to benefit." He almost smiled at that, an expression that looked strange on his face but felt honest all the same. Footsteps pounded down the corridor, and Vray burst back into the room, weapon raised, eyes scanning the scene, the cleared gas, the open restraints, me standing instead of strapped down. His weapon lowered slowly as he took in what had happened. "You freed him," Vray said to the young assistant, voice sharp with disbelief. "He fixed the leak," the assistant said quickly. "I would not have survived the gas. He knew what to do." Vray studied me carefully, the same calculating look from before, but something in it had shifted. "You could have run," he said. "The corridor was open. You could have tried to escape during the chaos." I shrugged, still catching my breath. Running blind on a strange ship with no idea where anything is would have gotten me killed faster than that gas would have gotten him. Helping made more sense. Vray lowered the weapon fully now, studying me the way a person studies something they thought they understood completely, only to realize they understood almost nothing. "Perhaps," he said slowly, "we were wrong to assume your species would react to danger the same way ours does." He looked down at the scattered berries still lying near the floor, one crushed slightly under his boot from the earlier scramble. "Perhaps we were wrong about a great many things," he added quietly. I picked up one of the unbroken berries from the floor and turned it over in my fingers, the dark red skin catching the dim emergency light. "So?" I asked again, calmer this time, no fear left in my voice. "About that soup." The young assistant let out a short, surprised laugh, quickly covering his mouth as if unsure whether laughing was allowed. Vray did not laugh, but something in his shoulders eased, the tension of the last hour finally letting go. "Later," he said. "First, help us understand exactly how much your kind can survive. I have a feeling this will take a very long time to fully explain." I looked around at the cracked pipes, the fading red alarm lights, the crew moving past the doorway checking damage, and finally, at the strange creature beside me, who owed his next breath to a human he had been terrified of only minutes earlier. "Take your time," I said. "I am not going anywhere." Outside, the alarms finally fell silent, and for the first time since waking up on that table, I let myself breathe easy.